Really?
To say Hollow Knight is a 2D action-adventure game is to say that an Aston Martin is a car. Both statements are true, but simultaneously grossly inadequate. Hollow Knight is so much more than the sum of its parts, and trying to create a concise yet complete description is difficult at best. It is massive, beautiful, and challenging, and while it isn't perfect, its very few flaws are easily forgiven thanks to its sheer brilliance. From the outset, Hollow Knight provides few hints on the direction forward. The game proper begins when you descend under the ruins of the town Dirtmouth, where you face your first decision, left or right. It's a simple, unremarkable choice, with nothing to drive you one way or the other. No breadcrumbs or hints, no guide or annoying sidekick.
Hey, listen!
Just the two choices. It's a situation that presents over and over and sums up so much of what Hollow Knight is about. Exploration. What begins as a slightly maddening lack of direction soon becomes an exhilarating sense of freedom. While Hollow Knight has its share of rewards in items and game currency, the real reward is just seeing what's on the other side. After 25 hours, Hollow Knight was still able to surprise me in both presentation and diversity of locations, characters and enemies. Make no mistake, this is a beautiful game. The art direction and animations are stunning, as is the soundtrack, and the NPCs have a surprising amount of character. Exploring this world is a pure joy and a reward unto itself. Even having finished this game, I still have an incredible desire to examine every inch, to find every secret and see every single thing this game has to offer. It's a massive world, and the map system is unique, and it's worth addressing because it can be quite challenging. Upon entering a new area, you will not have a map of it until you discover Old Mate Conifer. He'll then sell you a map, but only of the area that you have been in. It's then updated at checkpoints, assuming you purchase the quill, as you continue to explore. It's an interesting design decision, and one that I really came to enjoy as I progressed. I can now navigate around most zones in Hollow Knight far better than the streets of my own suburb, because I actually need to remember the way. That being said, it is challenging at first, and can be quite frustrating if you happen to take the left turn instead of the right, and have explored the vast majority of the zone before you find the NPC that sells you the map. This will put some people off, without a doubt. Personally, I loved it. This is a game where getting lost is half the fun. As you traverse the huge game world below Dirtmouth, you will uncover a vast array of enemies. Your foes begin with the simplest of attacks, as do you, a simple swing of your nail. While your foes will become more difficult and the combat both quick and mobile, the pacing in the early part of the game is very slow. If you come expecting a Diablo-like clickfest, you are going to be sorely disappointed. That being said, do not expect to stroll through Hollow Knight without breaking a sweat. Or maybe even a controller or two. The difficulty of the game ramps up significantly, and there are some particularly difficult boss encounters, as well as a couple of devilishly hard platforming sections. Boss encounters are a huge highlight of this game, and a great reminder that games are meant to challenge us. If you think you should be able to roll up to an encounter and successfully complete it within the first 1 or 2 attempts, this game is not going to be for you. It certainly doesn't have a Dark Souls level of difficulty or frustration, but you really do need to learn each encounter, and then execute the combat well, before being able to proceed. The payoff is, of course, the incredible relief and satisfaction when overcoming a particularly hard section of the game. It's been a long time since I've experienced such a rush at victory in gaming, and it's a welcome and highly addictive return. The difficulty of some sections highlights, painfully, the one major issue I have with Hollow Knight, the checkpoint system. The game autosaves regularly, but you respawn at the last bench that you rested on. and there are generally only 1 or 2 in each area. While I'm sure there is some rhyme or reason behind the placement, I couldn't see it, and they are often frustratingly far from a difficult encounter. This means spending a couple of minutes making your way back to the most recent defeat, often through a number of enemies, before engaging in an encounter that has already been kicking your ass for far longer than you would care to admit. More often than not, you're going to respawn pretty close to where you need to be, but it happened often enough to frustrate me on more than one occasion. While I accept that failure should be punished, some deaths were just far more painful than they should have been. Now, the other purpose the rest stations serve is to let you change your charms. Charms cater to the RPG element, allowing players the choice of powering up certain abilities, increased survivability, or simply some quality of life improvements. There are far more charms than slots available, so some thought is required when it comes to charm selection, particularly when heading into some of the more difficult encounters. These can make or break your success in certain fights. And while plenty can be bought or easily found in the world, some are particularly difficult to get your hands on, catering once again to the joy of exploring this beautiful world. Hollow Knight is a remarkably polished game. There have been, however, some performance issues. Occasionally the frame rate will plummet, and I have, from time to time, taken damage I would have otherwise avoided but for a brief screen freeze. In well over 25 hours of gameplay, I've experienced it 4 or 5 times personally, but there have been reports of it occurring far more often. It has had next to no impact on my enjoyment of the game, but be aware that it has for some. We do know Team Cherry are hard at work on a fix at the moment, so hopefully this will be resolved very soon. Hollow Knight is a spectacular game. Team Cherry have created an incredible world filled with variety, charm and wonder. It was a pure joy to explore Hallownest, and incredibly satisfying to finish the game. The combat is challenging with a number of particularly memorable boss encounters, and the old school difficulty is well balanced and hugely gratifying. Simply put, Hollow Knight is a very special game. It gets 4.5 out of 5.